There's a lot of Fury Warriors at the moment moving over to Night Fae, and a lot of players are kind of unsure why and can't really make a decision. So let me help you understand as to why you might make this move. Quickly before we start, I want to shout out my Twitch stream where we go live every Sunday, Tuesday and Wednesday from 7:30 to 11 PM UK playing WoW, answering all your Fury Warrior questions. And if you want to further support us, then please do consider giving this video a like, subscribing to the channel and turning on your notifications. Anyway, on with the video. Good afternoon, good evening, good morning champions, and welcome back to another video. And this week we are exploring Night Fae versus Venthyr and what is the better choice. I'm going to break down both Covenant abilities, break down their abilities within content, so Mythic Plus versus raiding, and help you make a decision. I'm not going to tell you what to pick here because it is 100% on you. This is one of the few times in World of Warcraft where you don't actually have a clear-cut choice. You can choose either one, and I'm going to explain how. So let's begin by breaking down what the Condem ability is. So if you're already Venthyr, you already know what this is. Condem replaces your execute and adds an additional execute phase at the start of the fight. So instead of just being able to cast execute at 20 to 0/30 to 0, you can now cast execute at 80 and above. However, obviously the ability changes to Condem and puts out quite a nice big bit of damage. In single target fights, you can see why this is very powerful. If that single target fight lasts a long time, then you're going to be seeing a big chunk of Condem casting in that 100 to 80 and then that 20 to 0. So it's very, very powerful in that scenario. When you break down your DPS, when you're looking at things such as details and when you're doing simulation crafts, you see that the Condem ability makes up a lot of the percentage of your overall damage during your fight. So if it kind of sits on a level with Rampage, to be fair, in that you're seeing a big chunk of your damage comes from both the Condem ability and from the Rampage ability. So it's a very strong one. But let's have a look at Night Fae as well. So Night Fae has to offer Ancient Aftershock. And Ancient Aftershock is an AoE ability which doesn't replace a spell. It's an additional spell to add to your toolkit, which in of itself is a good thing. It has a 1.5 minute cooldown, so 1:30. It kind of lines up with your Recklessnesses and your Blade Storms, off by about 20-30 seconds of course, but lines up relatively nicely with everything else. It's a big AoE ability, does big AoE damage. It also does a dot damage on the floor where you've hit it. It also stuns your enemies, which will then help your tanks kite things and helps you do a mass interrupt. So it's a very strong ability, and again, you can understand why in an AoE situation this is very, very strong. Because of the 1.5 minute cooldown, you can see why in a single target fight this might not be beneficial, because some of your boss fights may only last 5-6 minutes and you can only get 2 or 3 of these cast off, whereas in comparison to Condem you can get a lot of them off. So you're casting it less, but you're also picking out a lot of damage. But let's break it down to Mythic Plus and raiding for you. As you can imagine, Ancient Aftershock in Mythic Plus has a very, very big benefit and is a massive thing to be choosing to go into Mythic Plus. Not only do you have mass AoE with a damage over time, you have a mass stun, which isn't just going to help interrupt loads of things, it's also going to help your tank kite on the weeks where you need to do kiting. The 1.5 minute cooldown means that every other mob, you can generally speak, can be casting this depending how quickly your group goes and depending how quick your pulls are. So you can be casting this a lot and you can be syncing it with your Blade Storms, putting out massive AoE damage. When you compare this to Condem, you see that Condem is kind of useless in Mythic Plus. Mobs do not spend a long time in their first 20 and their final 20% of health because it's such a fast-paced thing and mobs have less health, so therefore there is less time to cast Condem. You may only get 1 or 2 Condemns over, so in theory your overarching damage delivered by Condem is less than your overarching damage done by Aftershock. To test this out, I went onto a PTR account, made a second character on there. Granted, they're very low in their soulbind usage, however this still counts and is still very, very viable. As you can see on the screen right now, it does very, very nice AoE damage and you do big cleaving here. When you look at the sim comparison as well, you see that Ancient Aftershock puts out significantly more damage on 4 targets in a 3-minute fight than Condem does. And it's not just a little jump, it's a very, very big jump. And like I said, it's not just the fact you have an AoE here, you have a mass stun, which is huge in Mythic Plus. And the fact that you can just stun anything in front of you is massive. And like I said, because the mob fights are so short, there's not much time to be casting Condem. So in Mythic Plus, your clear overarching decision should be Night Fae, and you should be going for them because it has the most benefits for not just you, for your party. In raiding, however, Venthyr is your go-to choice. Again, this actually only depends on your group. However, as an overarching general generic statement, Venthyr is stronger here. Most fights last 5 to 8 minutes. In a 5 to 8 minute window, your boss is going to last longer in the first 20 and the final 20, where you're going to be able to cast Condem. Compare this to Ancient Aftershock, where you're only going to get 3 to 5 casts of it. Because it's a 1.5 minute cooldown, in a single target fight, you can only get 3 to 5 casts off. Whereas Condem is a 3-second cooldown, you can get a lot of those off in those 2 phases where you're allowed to cast it. Now, like I said, this very much depends on your guild, and I'll go into further details in this in a bit. However, that is the generic rule. Fights take that long. You have a lot more chances to be casting Condemn than you do Ancient Aftershock, so clearly it's going to put out more damage. Again, I did some simming, and if you see on the screen here, there is a jumping the Covenant ability of Condemn over Ancient Aftershock. That can be understood when you take into account those extraneous things of longer fights, being able to cast it more and have longer Condemn windows. So where does that leave you? You've got Mythic Plus telling you one thing, you've got raiding telling you another thing, so what do you choose? This is where you have to sit back and analyze yourself. For the first time, or not first time, for the first time in a while, we can choose what we use. Both are very viable in their specific scenarios, so it depends on you and your guild. If you were, what I would say, there's kind of be a 3-rule thing here. If you are currently farming Castle Nathria Heroic, Normal, Mythic, I would change. If you are currently only looking at doing Mythic Plus, I would change to Night Fae. If you are still progressing on Normal, Heroic, or Mythic, I would say stay as Venthyr. The mentality behind this is because if you're farming, your bosses are going down so fast, you don't have a Condemn window like you would in a progression fight. Your bosses are possibly going down in 1 to 2 minutes, so you can cast an Ancient Aftershock, have a big AoE spike, but if you compare that to the Venthyr, you're going to have less Condemn window chances to be casting that. So that's your decision. However, I'm going to give you another nuance to help you make your decision. So we have the overarching choice of if you're farming, change. If you're a Mythic Plus, change. If you're progression, stay as Venthyr. The next thing is patch 9.1. So when patch 9.1 drops, we're going to have a new raid. That means progression is going to restart again. Mythic's going to be boosted up. Mythic Plus is going to be bolstered as it always is with the eye level changes. And raiding is going to be new, fresh and hard. And there's going to be a lot of people progressing on normal, heroic and on mythic. Therefore, because of that, you will want to be Venthyr for 9.1 because Condemn will be your stronger ability. So this now comes down to your playtime. How much time can you put into the game? Between now and the end of May, when 9.1 most likely will come, are you able to change and level up your entire Covenant to Night Fae and then back again? Or do you only have the time to change to the Covenant and then it'll be 9.1? As someone who doesn't play an awful lot outside of my streaming days, it would be hard for me to jump to Night Fae, level up Night Fae, and then jump back to Covenant, and then jump back to Venthyr. So look at your playtime and your investment in the game. If you can jump between the 2 Covenants, 100% do it now. If you're like me who can't, I would stay as Venthyr. I mean, this is all dependent, you never know. 9.1's raid, Chains of Domination, can come out and it would be the biggest AoE raid we've ever seen. You never know. But on a playing it safe side, that is a decision that I would take. So to wrap that up, I'll say it one more time. If you're farming raiding, I would switch to Night Fae. If you're focusing on Mythic Plus, I would switch to Night Fae. However, if you're still in a progression guild and you're progressing things such as Heroic or Mythic, I would stay as Venthyr because your fights is lasting longer. In short, how long is your fight lasting? If it's lasting really long, you want to be Condemn. If it's not lasting long, you want to be Night Fae. Simple as. I hope that's helped you make a decision. Like I said, this wasn't going to be a guide to basically tell you what to pick because it does depend on you. And like I said, it's the first time in a while where we've been able to choose between 2 things and both of them be super viable and both of them be worth doing. But it actually depends on you. Like I said, depends on your guild, depends on your kind of playstyle, depends on the content that you're currently pushing. The world is yours. Here are just some talking points to help you decide. If you agree with anything I've said, chuck it down below. If you disagree with everything I said, chuck that down below as well, because it would be lovely to have a conversation about what your guys' thoughts are on the 2 Covenants and what you think is better. We're not going to touch Necrolords because that's still questionable. But other than that, thank you very much for checking out the video. As always, we have new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. Above me are those amazing supporters, so thank you so much. There's a massive load of supporters this month, which is brilliant. Really honestly appreciate that. And as always, we go live on Twitch every Sunday and Tuesday, and we go live on YouTube now every Wednesday. So hopefully see you guys there. Let's have this discussion in person, live, and chat about Fury Warrior and how amazing we are these days. But other than that, I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.